All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. Welcome to our monthly Opportunities in Health IT session. I'm Charlene Banta. I'm the Program Director of the Health Information Technology Program at St. John's River State College in St. Augustine. And we are really pleased to partner with the Northeast Florida Health Information Management Association to offer these monthly Lunch and Learn sessions, really featuring the stories of health IT and health information management professionals. So a couple of quick housekeeping items before we get started. Everyone on the call is muted. So feel free to enter questions in the chat box, and at the end of the formal presentation, we will open up all lines so that you can ask questions verbally as well. One continuing education unit will be granted for attendance if you need that. The process for claiming that credit will be shared at the end of the presentation, and be aware that this session is being recorded. Our speaker today is Theresa Ferrato. Theresa serves as a Senior IT Application Analyst at Mayo Clinic. And Theresa, we really appreciate you being here with us today to share your story. So at this time, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Charlene. You can hear me okay, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for having me. This is really fun to kind of talk to some other students. It's been quite a while since I've been in school, so it's kind of fun to share the different types of things that I've experienced. So as Charlene said, my name is Theresa Ferrato. I am a Senior IT Application Analyst with the Mayo Clinic. I've been with Mayo for about 20 years, and we'll get a little more in detail of, kind of the journey I took since I've been there and where I started before that. So we'll start off with education. And I started out at a facility in Minnesota, part-time, second shift job because of family and whatnot. And so when I started that job, I was given the opportunity to go to school. So I took it and I went and took medical terminology and really enjoyed that class. So once I moved to Arizona, a little time had gone by. I had my job at Mayo. I was like, I really want to kind of move forward. So I went to Central Arizona College, enrolled in the HIT program. I was able to take one day off a week and work 4 10-hour days, which was a great opportunity for me to be able to attend one day a week classes. So I was able to get 2 classes in a week per semester for a while. Then I had another opportunity where I was able to go to Rochester Community and Technical College, which is in Minnesota. So even though I was in Arizona, I was able to complete my degree through that college with all online education. There was one class where I had to go to a proctor to take an exam, but for the most part, it was online. I was able to do my exams from home on the computer, so that was very helpful. In 2009, I did get my associate in applied science of health information technology, and I was able to graduate with honors, which was very, very gratifying for me, very exciting. Shortly after completing the education, I did go and take my exam and became certified in May of 2009. Personally, for me, I felt very adamant about getting it done quickly. I know some people are, don't worry about test taking. I'm not a good test taker, so I was like, I got to study for this and take this now so that I can pass and put it behind me and move on with my career. So that went pretty well. So as far as my career path, in 1998 was when I started my first role in Minnesota, and I was hired as a temp staff. And what I was doing was filing medical records in paper charts. So that was before electronic really became full force. After about 6 weeks, I was able to be hired on permanently. And then after that, shortly after that, I was promoted to the team lead position. I worked there for 2 years until my family and I moved to Arizona. When we moved to Arizona, I was hired on as the second shift lead at the Mayo Clinic. There's a clinic campus in Scottsdale. Excuse me. Um, I did that for a couple of years, kind of managed the staff, kind of oversaw, created schedules, made sure that things were running okay. In 2003, we started moving more towards the electronic. We were still doing, up to that point, we were still doing quite a bit of filing and using paper records and paper charts. Then in 2003, we started more on the electronic side. So as that came up, that was a McKesson product, and we were mostly scanning documents in, indexing them with the information so it was easy to find online. And then my position turned into a QA specialist from a lead. I did the training for staff on on how to scan the documents in. So I was I wasn't more of a lead at that time. I wasn't overseeing staff. I was more training and kind of teaching them how to use the system. So then during that time, I was doing my schooling. So in 2006, when the supervisor position opened in medical records, I really felt that that was the next step I wanted to take. So when I went in and talked to my supervisor about moving forward, they worked with me on how I could complete my education, get my degree, get my certification, and be the supervisor of the department. So at that time, I was hired in as the department supervisor and continued my education and made sure that they said I had 4 years to complete the education and the degree, and I was actually able to do it in 3. So I was pretty proud of that fact that, I got it done quicker than expected. So I worked as a supervisor, oversaw release of information, oversaw the scanning piece, and anything else that kind of came up related to supervisory duties. In 2009, 2010, the Mayo Clinic in Arizona started working towards adding Cerner as their electronic record. And when we started to do that, I was still doing the supervisory duties, but my role changed a little bit, and I started creating documentation for getting our staff up to date and trained on the new system, so that first day of go live, we were ready to start working in the system and weren't having any issues. During that time, we did have a system support person in the department, so I worked closely with her, and she was very helpful in kind of teaching me some of the behind the scenes things that went on. I was able to be included in testing pieces when we were testing the new system. So it helped me to become very familiar with how to work with the different pieces that we needed to work with in our department. So after working on that, the IT support for Cerner had a support person. We shared this record with the Mayo Clinic in Florida at that time when we took Cerner on in Arizona. And there was an IT support person for Florida, but not for Arizona. So someone reached out to me and said, "You would be really good in this role. I think you should, consider it." So that's when I took the leap and moved into the IT department and started supporting the HIMSS technical work. And that's where I was an analyst, the Cerner application until 2016. In 2015 is when we started working on the new application, which is Epic. And they started moving staff in 2015, but I wasn't ready to move at that time, so I kind of held off. And when I did, then they decided in 2016, when I was moved from Cerner to Epic, that I would be placed on the security team as an application analyst. And that was kind of a different role because now I wasn't supporting specifically the HIMSS department. I was supporting an overall piece that was a little bit different but still related, because for security we have to make sure that people don't have too much access, kind of making sure that people are doing what they should be doing in the system. So it's was kind of related as far as kind of making sure, keeping track of that protected information. And as I kept working and working, we were putting in the new system. It took a couple of years to kind of move Florida, Arizona, and Rochester and the health system, which is all Mayo associated, together. We had separate go lives. So for a couple of years we had go lives and we're moving forward. During that time, I asked for some additional responsibilities so that I could work towards being a senior analyst, and that my manager was very great in giving me some of those opportunities to kind of extend my experience. During that time, as we were moving forward with the go lives, all users had to log into the system, be sure they could get in and had the right access. I was placed in charge of each go live and making sure that those users were able to log in, as well as creating schedule for contractors. I had to interview contractors, made sure that they showed up every day, as well as kind of teaching them how to use the system basically so that they could get those users logged in and check the access. One of the other opportunities also was to make sure that all of the providers in the system were set up correctly so that they could log in, do their documentation, didn't have issues. So that was another piece that I worked on as well. So in my current role, basically I support Epic, the software program, and other modules, just kind of little things that span into that, making sure that, if it's supposed to work, that it works. I have to do analysis and support, as well as implementation, any new projects that come up. We do analysis, design, build, we test, make sure things are working as they're supposed to, which kind of puts me into a 24/7 on-call support. I'm on call every 5 weeks. I have 4 other team members, and we kind of rotate on a weekly basis, so that it kind of separates it out a little bit, so you're not always on call. So, and part of our job is to validate the integrity and changes that are introduced, just to be sure that people have the right access and aren't getting too much in what they're doing. So the qualifications for being in the role that I'm in is a bachelor's degree with 4 years experience or associate's degree with 6. And the salary range is $40 to $60 an hour. So some of my benefits of the role, obviously salary is very good, and the benefits, working for Mayo Clinic I've never had a complaint with what I think we're compensated very well with overall benefits all the way around. I am currently a teleworker, so I work from home. I can work from anywhere remotely as long as there's internet, and I can share a quick story. Up until a half an hour ago, I didn't even have internet. I had to change my location, so I'm in a different location now, but found another location with an internet and was able to log on. So it is a huge benefit that I just kind of take my computer and can work from anywhere. One of the other benefits of my role is that it's challenging, which I enjoy. It's very rewarding when you resolve or even assist with an issue, whether it's a big issue or a small issue. Sometimes the smallest thing is a victory when you're trying to figure something out. So I really enjoy my job every day that I get to work. And some of the challenges of the role is also working out the issues, figuring them out, coming up with resolutions. Complex issues do take time to resolve and sometimes collaboration with lots of different people, and like I said, sometimes it can take a long time to figure out an issue, but it's very gratifying when it's resolved. Sometimes even when you don't make the resolution, it just gets resolved. One of the other challenges, though, although I work from home and enjoy it, and I have Skype, email, I can call on the phone, there's lots of different ways to connect with my colleagues. I don't get to have any of those hallway conversations where you might meet someone in the hallway and you start talking about an issue or something, that's been coming down the pike that you need to talk about. I don't feel like I miss out on that much, but you do. I think it is a little bit different, but I do understand that that's how things are moving towards at this point, in life, that a lot of people do work from home for various jobs. So my recommendation, as technology improves, the need for smart professionals as yourselves grow. So take advantage of any classes, webinars you can attend for IT or anything related to health information management that may be related. You just never know what kind of path it's going to take you on. Show your interest and learn from other people. As I mentioned, I had a coworker who was doing the system support, and she was a mentor for me. As far as just kind of when I'd ask a question, she'd answer it. She'd be there, and I was able to learn a lot, and I asked a lot of questions, and that was very helpful. So I just kind of think that, it's not for everybody. Not everybody kind of likes the computer. Some people are kind of, yeah, I have to use it. It's okay. But if you like it and you show interest, there's always lots you can take and still kind of be related to health information management. So I think I've talked enough. Thank you again very much for having me. And does anyone have any questions?
Well, thank you so much, Theresa. We really appreciate you being here and sharing your journey. I do see we have a question in the chat. Does your job involve a lot of computer coding?
No, I don't do coding. It's more of application support, more of like fixing issues that come up, but I don't do any coding.
And that was all the questions in the chat. Let's see. Nope, one more. What advice would you give someone going into data analysis with no IT background?
I don't think you would need any IT or any kind of computer background for that. You're on the computer, kind of going through the information, but I don't see anything that, I can't think of anything that you would that would necessarily want to deter you from going that route. So I answered that question.
And another question, do you have any additional tips for students?
It's been quite a while since I've been in school. I'm trying to think back to how, it was a busy time to work, but I think for me, working in the field was very helpful. And I know that's not always the case where you can get a job working in, at least in medical records or something in a medical facility. But that was I think that was very beneficial for me. It kind of reinforced some of the things that I was learning at the time.
Let's see. How many people work in your department?
Oof. I don't have that figure, but I could get that to Charlene.
So I know that there are roughly 2,000 people in our IT department. Our IT department is made up of, or I should say our Mayo's IT
Mayo.
department. Um, those 2,000 people are divided into multiple teams. So how many are on your team?
My particular team only has 5. We have
Okay.
a very small team, so that's why it's kind of hard. But I know there are other teams that just support Epic itself that, have 5 and 10 people on it, or maybe even 10 to 15 people because they're bigger applications. Um, like the inpatient documentation where they're supporting all of the inpatient, any documentation that's done on inpatient, I think they have 10 to 15 people, and that's probably the biggest applications.
Would it have helped you to have more of an IT education background, or since you started from the ground floor was on the job training plenty for you?
For me, on-the-job training worked very well, but there are aspects that I would probably understand maybe faster if I had had the background in IT. And I have been considering going back and kind of taking a class here and there to kind of help me a little bit more with some things, but most of the on-the-job training was really helpful.
And another question, does Mayo allow others to put education, I'm not sure I'm understanding this question. Does Mayo allow others to put education a must in all settings? I think that might be asking about the education
Is
qualifications.
qualifications, requirements, um,
Yeah.
probably, yeah, because I did have the associate's degree, and that was what was helpful for me to be able to move. And I did have the experience within the department. They are pretty specific about the qualifications most of the time from what I've experienced. Now, I don't know if that's the case everywhere, but um, like I said, they did kind of make an exception for me when I applied for the supervisor position. I didn't have my degree and the certification, and they gave me the opportunity to do that. So I guess there's always room for interpretation there.
And we have one here who has a BA in allied health, but no formal IT training. How could I break into a role such as yours?
Um, if you're in allied health, maybe talk to your supervisor about what kind of opportunities are outside of where you're at, how you can start learning within, maybe even within the department, to kind of expand. That is pretty much what I did. I mean, I just kind of learned on the job, and as I went and kind of just talked to different people about what, trying to learn different things. I think your supervisor would probably be helpful if they know that you want to improve on your knowledge.
Right. So many start out in allied health um,
Mhm.
positions or roles, and then kind of show that they're either interested or prove themselves as being capable and have opportunities like that open up to them. If you were at a dinner party or a barbecue, how would you talk to others about the field of HIT and the need for our HITs?
Hmm. Very interesting question. um, I we're at just a party with are these people that I'm assuming are familiar if you're talking about your role and what you do.
Probably not familiar. I think that's the
Not familiar
challenge that we face in education is no one knows what we're talking about
what you're talking about.
or understand that there
And
even are opportunities.
within, yeah. I think you just kind of have to bring it up to people. I mean, I know a lot of times whenever I would, talk to people and say, I work for Mayo Clinic, and they're like, oh, are you a nurse? And I'm like, no. And then I'd kind of go in and explain what exactly I did. And maybe as you're explaining your role, just say, there's lots of opportunities within the role that I am currently in that I could expand to that really can be different than exactly what what you're explaining.
And so a clarification on that earlier question about education was specifically about you being allowed to continue your education while working at Mayo, which I do know the answer to that is yes. So Mayo is very supportive of employees continuing their education, and they even will pay for it.
Yes, yes, they did. I was on the tuition assistance through Mayo, so that was another benefit of working for Mayo Clinic. That is, yeah, they definitely like for everyone to kind of be educated, continue their education, and keep moving forward.
And you were working full time, going to school, and a mom, right? You had
Yes,
a
I had
kid,
two
and
daughters.
yeah.
Yep, everyone was very supportive. You know, my husband was there 24/7 to help me with whatever I needed, and yeah, very, very blessed that I had the support I had and was able to get through it as quickly as I was, and I was because of all that support from my family and work, of course. They, allowing me at first to be able to take one day off a week and work 4 10-hour days to be able to start schooling. And then the online education was done on my own time for the most part. But when it came time to do the internship, I was able to leave work, go to the internship, and then return back to work. I really didn't lose any of my time or any benefits because of it.
That's great.
Yes.
So, what are the entry-level positions at Mayo in your field?
In IT, I would say probably help desk would be an entry-level position. There is also, I'm not sure, I haven't looked at some of the other job descriptions, but we have support for, for me as an application analyst, I support an application. There are, although they don't support our particular team, there are other teams that have lower level staff that is kind of like a help desk person. If the help desk can't initially answer the question or help, it'll go to what's a level 2 team before it escalates to the application team itself, where they can kind of troubleshoot some issues ahead of time, some more simple issues, and then if they can't, then it moves forward. So that would be more of an entry level support under the application analyst piece.
Yeah, I can think of 3 different categories. So I know there's, as you said, the help desk. There's also workstation support. So your workstation computer support folks who are really more hardware. And as you said, the application support is a relatively new position, and
Mm-hmm.
it's really the lowest level of what you're doing right now, and is a wonderful entry level position.
Yeah.
And really any position in a health information management department is also kind of a track to what you're doing.
Yes.
Any other questions? I can also open up the lines. You've been great about entering them in the chat, but if we want to ask verbally, I can do that as well. Do you know if Mayo will hire you if you are a patient there?
I don't believe they would look at that.
Yeah.
um, that wouldn't make a difference. That wouldn't be something they would look at or consider. If you have the qualifications for that entry level position, I know when I was in the supervisor role, I did a lot of interviewing. You know, as long as you're qualified for the position, you would hopefully get an interview.
So a question I have for you, I'm curious, you talked a little bit earlier about missing out on those hallway conversations.
Hmm.
Do you feel like not being engaged in those types of those connections that take place in elevators, do you feel like that's reduced your upward mobility at all, your opportunities for advancement?
No, I don't
No?
believe it did. I just think it's a little barrier for, not having that contact, that day-to-day contact with people. But I've been working from home for the last couple of years, and I got my promotion by, working hard and being as connected as possible with everyone else. So our team is really good. We meet every day and have a meeting every day, um, to work through some things, and I don't feel there's a disconnect at all. It's just I think some people would feel it as a barrier. I think just because they may be more of, I want to be with people, I want to be in the office and kind of have
Hmm.
those conversations. But for me, it doesn't cause much of a barrier at all.
Okay, good. So you stated that when you were in security, you kept track of protected health information. Can you expand on that?
Um, Sometimes with when there's issues that arise, they we have to kind of make sure that not the information is getting out to people that shouldn't be seeing that information. I'm not as much involved with the patient record as I used to be, because of moving into the security role. But we do have, there are various different groups of that there's different, I'm trying to think, they call them integrated work groups. And there are work groups where we are included on that are associated with the patient record and confidentiality. I was on a group in the beginning when I first started on security, but that one kind of went away and I haven't been involved as much as I used to be.
Any restrictions on the Wi-Fi that you use?
As far as like
I
what,
guess connecting for work.
like I said, I had an issue today. I'm in a new location, so I could make sure I made this meeting. um, so you can, I mean, they don't want you to go to Starbucks and work at Starbucks because it's an open Wi-Fi connection, but a secure location is obviously better for protecting, because even though I don't log in and look at medical records anymore, if someone got into my computer, they could still, look at a record. So,
Right.
they do want it to be, protected somewhat. They don't want you to be on an open connection, but mine is secured wherever I go. So I really try to kind of keep that security piece
Yeah,
intact.
in a tight spot, you could use a hotspot on your phone even.
Yes, yes, you can do that, but I
All
try not
right.
to.
Well, chat box is slowing down, so I am going to open up the lines to see if we have other questions verbally.
Right. Get listening. That's good.
All right. So everyone should be able, if you're not already unmuted, you should be able to unmute yourself at this time. Any final questions for Theresa?
I would just like to thank you, Theresa. You've been very informative, and I really appreciated it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I could be. I don't think about stuff like that, it could benefit somebody else from the experiences that I've had, going through all the different positions. I guess you do.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions, Theresa, if you want to go ahead and fast forward to that very last slide. If we have anyone on the call who needs CEU credit. Is it not on this? Oops, it's not on this one. Okay, sorry, I meant to add it. I will put it in the chat. My email is my name, Charlene Banta, sjrstate.edu. Feel free to shoot me an email if you'd like CEU credit, and I will send you that documentation. Otherwise, thank you for being here, and have a great day.
Thank you again for having me, Charlene.
Thank you, Theresa.
Thank you.